go through how to answer the question or approach the question from last year's HSC for Module C. And one of the first questions I get asked from students is how much of the stimulus do you need to incorporate and how do you actually do that? So if we have a look at this particular stimulus here, the extract is, twice before, a book had turned him inside out and altered who he was, had blasted apart his assumptions about the world and thrust him onto a new ground where everything in the world suddenly looked different. So like you would do in section 1 of the common module where you're deconstructing a comprehension task, that's exactly what you need to do here. You need to have a look at, what techniques are used, and really what's the idea behind the actual stimulus. So if you have a look at some of the key terms there, we've got the idea of reading. We've got the idea of change, or the fact that someone will change through that process. So a book had turned him inside out. Obviously, that's a metaphor, but that's all about changing, altering who he was, blasted apart his assumptions about the world. So again, changed perspectives, thrust him into a new ground, getting change, where everything in the world suddenly looked different and would remain different for the rest of time, for as long as he himself went on living in time and occupied space in the world. So a lot about change, and also instigated by that process of reading through, saying, a book. So what you want to do is you want to take that key message in the stimulus and make sure you incorporate that in the particular style of writing that you choose to do, whether it's imaginative, discursive, or persuasive. And then the next question I get asked is, how much of the stimulus do you need to use? Should you be explicit using it? Should it be a story or a piece about a book specifically? Or can you just sort of allude to it? So what you want to do is use parts of the stimulus in your actual writing so that it's really clear you've used the stimulus, and make sure that you actually include the message behind it. So your piece really needs to be about change perspectives, possibly instigated by some kind of reading or experience with a book or piece of writing. And so when you use the stimulus in your own writing, what you can do, this is a great extract because there's some really good metaphors that you can actually take and adopt into your own writing. So you could use the turned him inside out, blasted apart his assumptions. That would probably only be useful if you were doing a discursive or persuasive, the blasted apart his assumptions, just because it sounds a little bit more like almost an essay. Assumptions isn't really a word you'd use in imaginative writing. Whereas when you've got thrust him onto new ground, that could be very good for an imaginative piece. So there's a really good range of different quotes you could use from this stimulus, and then use little bits of it. You don't need too many. They just need to be clear that you're actually using the extract and there's no question that you've done it. And then that you've got the message behind it, which, as I said, was the idea of change. So in the next video, I'm going to go through how to come up with an idea or a response to that particular extract. And if you like these videos, make sure to subscribe because I'm going to be adding to them a lot.